Hey guys, Joe from J&M Concrete here. As you can tell, wearing my long johns, alpaca socks, my beanie. Winter's here, it's cold, I don't like it, but we gotta do it. So this week we are doing basically the first part of our last big project. We're doing a pad for a pergola, a set of steps, and then a little square. Stick around for excavation, prep. My favorite part, the pour. The access on this is kind of funky, a little tight, but we have the right team and the right gear for it. Don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe, guys. See you then. Bye-bye. Before I go digging into anyone's lawn, so I don't end up over digging and tearing up most that I need, we will check our dimensions out, make sure that those dimensions are somewhat square. We will over dig some because obviously we need room for our forms. And then after we get that in, we'll bring out the customer and let them know, like, hey, here's your location, where this is gonna be, here's the spray paint. It really helps people visualize where we're digging into their lawn. That way they can kind of plan or adjust for their personal liking what we need to do. This actually worked out really well. The soil was kind of soft in the sense that the grass didn't have really large root systems. So after we measured, we brought the customer out, they double checked what they wanted versus what we did, and it all lined up. After that, we ended up hitting this with the jumping jack, road base, made sure our forms were square, even though this was just a pergola, but you never know. It's nice to be square for quality's sake. One thing that made this a little bit weird was we were digging to the hill there on the left, so they're going to have to build something up there to hold the soil back. But apart from that, I mean, everything really worked out. They're going to have to build up around the whole pad, really build down around the back, build up around the front. But either way, we got a row base down and everything went well. Even though this is a pergola pad, we usually have a minimum standard that we do. If you go back in our videos, you'll notice that we follow the same steps, the same quality for a driveway as we do for this pad. We don't like to leave things up to chance. The difference between a driveway and this is probably a few hours of labor in terms of the extra things we do to make sure it goes nowhere. And we also treat these steps the same way. Even though these were just simple steps, you should have seen they had all the steps of a big job. Out of the whole job, the one thing that gave us the most trouble was laying the rebar inside these steps because of the curve. You want to make sure they're not touching the outsides, the perimeter. Even though this is fiberglass rebar, if something was touching the edge, it wouldn't rust out or anything. But getting them to bend when they want to be straight can be a little difficult, so it takes some teamwork to knock this out. But we eventually got it done.
There's one.
Even though it was a small square, I think out of everything we did, this provided the biggest fix to problems the customers were having on the property. They were having to step down and then step up around the sidewalk, but once we put this in there, it made traveling a lot easier. All right, guys, there it is. We got this framed up. Obviously, since this is coming straight and this is on a curve, it's kind of weird. There was no way to really get a proper shape on that, but I guess that's just the way it is. And then over here, we added 2 steps. So the steps, that step over there and all these steps here are about 7 3/4 inches. This bottom step's actually 8 inches. Too much for my liking, but trying to switch over to a smaller step that I'm comfortable with after all this would lead to disaster. You know, you feel it a certain way and then it changes, it catches you off guard, you'll get hurt. So these are 7 3/4 inches. That is the width of the board. We didn't have to rip cut it or anything. But yeah, this we added the step / extending that sidewalk so people can walk around, step here, and then they'll be able to walk off into this way. We kind of gave it a little bit of flair to the tree there and then the hills there, so they should be able to walk down this way now pretty comfortably, in my opinion. But anyways, here's also the pad. We've been going through that section and the fence over there. The neighbor has been kind enough to allow us to, but there it is. Came out really sweet. Prep is done. We're pouring tomorrow at 7:30. It's going to be kind of cold, but we're pouring a 4500 mix, low slump, and it should come out really nice. See you guys tomorrow at the pour. Bye-bye. Hey, you better not steal this. I stole this from a driver like 5 years ago. Bro, I've never bought one of these over the years. No matter how many fancy tools and equipment you have, sometimes you just have to fill in steps with a shovel the old-fashioned way and to knock it out. When I was pouring this pad, the only thing that had me worried was on the top of the pad over there. I didn't want to tilt sideways and dump out our power buggy. It was tilted enough that I was actually a little bit too nervous that I didn't want to find out whether this thing will tip over or not. So I went all the way around and got it from every other side except that side. But either way, the pour wasn't too hard. I mean, they had to drag the mud a little bit, but it didn't create too much of a problem. Once everything was done, we finally got to close off that fence section. Again, super grateful that the customer's neighbor allowed us to go through their side of the yard. Even though we have small equipment, it doesn't destroy anything. We still need their permission. So it made our job a lot easier being able to have access to all the work that we did on our customer's property. Even though the customers still have to grade around this pad, lower it on the back end, raise it on the top, we still did the face on the more exposed side. Once it hits the joint back, we didn't do much for face. You can actually see the bottom of the road base there. Hey guys, Joe from J&M Concrete here. So we poured this morning at 7:30. We poured a 4500 mix, about a 4 slump with 1% non-chloride accelerant. There it is, guys. They have their pergola pad, which is slightly bigger. I always recommend, if it's going to be for pergola, don't try and do it exact. Give yourself some wiggle room. The pergola is 12 by 14. This is 13 by 15. And then we knocked out these steps. I had to wing them with my own design. I think they came out really nicely. One thing I don't like, guys, you can even tell in the video, they're really tall. They're like 7 3/4 inches. That first step right there is 8 inches, and then 7 3/4, 7 3/4. Over there, 7 3/4. I was forced to make them big, you know, do them right. And then we finally connected this. Instead of coming in and doing a step down, step up, they'll be able to turn here. There it is, guys. So next week we're doing something that we don't do very often. We're doing city work. We're taking out city curb, city sidewalk. Stick around for that. There's a lot of steps and rules and regulations to do that properly. Hopefully all that works out. Thanks for stopping by, and don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe. See you then, guys. Bye-bye.